Hey guys, it's Marty, and today I am very excited to be talking about something brand new to the market, just introduced. As you can see here, QoR went ahead and did it. They have introduced a mini watercolor kit for artists and sketch artists. They saw the market demand was there and they said, hey, we're going to beat everybody else to the market on this, and here they are. Now, QoR made some unique choices with this set, and we're going to get into some detail on all of that and more. But first I want to talk a little bit about the set itself. So it was just introduced. I was up at Wet Paint. Darren, the owner up there, said, hey, did you know that QoR just introduced this really cool little set? I said, no, I had no idea. And he said, well, here it is. And I just couldn't wait to get my hands on it. So I bought this for about $59 or so up there, which is a pretty good deal, I think, considering what you're getting inside this kit and the kit itself. So there's, like I said, 12 colors. Here they are. I'll list them out as well in the description, but it's really a cool thing to see a watercolor company introduce a watercolor kit that has quality paints in it. I'll talk about some of the characteristics of the paints as well, and the sizes of the pans and all that stuff. But when you open the set, you get a brochure which gives you the color chart of all of the paints from QoR. Now, this particular chart unfortunately doesn't have a lot of information regarding pigments or light fast stuff. You have to go to their website for that, but it does give you the range of their colors, which is pretty cool. Now, the first thing you notice when you open this kit is, wow, this is like a silicone insert. And people worry, well, will that stain? Well, I tried that out and it doesn't stain. You can rinse this thing right out just fine. It's a little tricky with the pans in there because you don't want to get your watercolor all wet, but that's what it looks like just as you open the lid. There's place to mix your paint as well in the top lid, which folds open, as you can see there with all the little holes there, little bubbles in the tin. And you can see as the paint goes down on the watercolor paper here, and this is a 300-pound Arches watercolor paper. So going to test paints, you might as well test them on really good, decent watercolor paper. And you can see how the color just pops. QoR is very interested in making and creating very vibrant paints. And so you can see here that this paint is just packed with color and vibrancy. Even as you stretch the paint out a little bit and it thins as I go down the line here, you can still see how colorful and bright these paints are, which I always liked about QoR. I did review QoR paints. Of course, those were when they came in the tube a couple years ago. You can check that video out on my channel, but this is just a really kind of, I think, very well-timed introduction to the market. These paints are just definitely, they belong in a case and a little kit. And I think you're going to see similar things from companies like Daniel Smith and others soon. And hopefully all of these companies will be able to introduce these onto the market. But you can see here the bright, vibrant colors here that just pop in this set. One of the things about this set that's also unique is if you look at these pans here, these pans are slightly smaller than the Schmincke half pans. They're still considered half pans, I would say, but they're just a little tiny bit smaller. So as you look there, but the other thing I'll say is that the paint in the pans comes up over the pan a little bit. You can see how they rise over the pan. So that, whereas if I buy a Schmincke pan, it's perfectly flat. So I want to say you're getting exactly the same amount of paint as you would in a Schmincke half pan or any other kind of half pan about this size. Now see, you can mix right here in the lid, which I mentioned before, which is very nice. I'm going to make a green here, and you can see these paints mix really, really well. That's a really nice green right there, and I'll put it on the paper here for you to look at. But yeah, nice spring leafy green like that you can mix right with the colors that come in this kit. And yeah, like, it's overdue that a kit like this would come out. Now, I'll talk a little bit about the construction of this particular tin and the kit itself here in a second, but one of the things I like about this is it's very narrow. So you can fit this in a shirt pocket. I know because I tried. So if you turn this just like that, you can see that it's not really even 3/4 of an inch. All right, how cool is this? First of all, QoR is being very transparent, no pun intended, about what is in their paint and how light fast it is according to them. Now, a lot of companies aren't publishing their pigments right on the paint kit itself, but I really commend QoR for doing this. If you flip it over, first of all, it tells you all the colors that are on the kit in this nice sticker. Then it tells you all of the pigments that are in each paint, or whether it's a single or multiple pigment paint, and then they give it their light fast rating, which I think is pretty neat for a paint company to do, and I really think that QoR should be commended for taking that step. That's really cool. So overall, just a really well constructed kit. Really nice tin, solid, closes well, fits nice in your pocket, highly transportable. So here's a little comparison of some other watercolor paints. These, I believe, are Daler and Rowney paints, which are, I always talk about how they're a student grade paint, but they're very nice. This is the Aquafine paint. So if you want that kind of vibrancy in a low cost student grade paint, which is a little bit higher in quality, Daler and Rowney is really good. Here's Sennelier, and as you can look there, the French paint Sennelier is made with honey, so it has a little bit of a glow to it. As you can see, compared to these QoR paints, they're not going to be as vibrant or inky looking, like so bright, but they're more in the pure sense of watercolor, what I would characterize as really excellent paints. You can see how vibrant and blue the Sennelier is, or the colors, how vibrant their blue is. And then right here's the Schmincke colors, which I use every day, and I rank #1 in my top 10 all-time watercolors. You can go and take a look at that video if you're interested in finding out what watercolors I rank the best in the world. This I swatched out, I don't know, I think it was 2015 or something, and the colors are still really vibrant and great. 2014, 4 years ago. I love Schmincke. That's what I use every day. And right here, this is the Lucas Aquarelle. These are German watercolor paints. You can see here they're very nice as well. They mix very nicely. But in comparison, I'd say, you're going to get a lot more vibrancy in the QoR paints. Remember, QoR, here's some Royal Talons, but I think these are Rembrandts, if I'm not mistaken. But remember that QoR, the paints themselves are used to in restoration or conservation restoration. So like an old watercolor painting that needs to be retouched or something like that, they would use this QoR paint. So that you can see some of the mixing I did here with these Royal Talons watercolors. But again, the vibrancy isn't quite the same. I mean, these QoR paints kind of remind me of like a P.H. Martin's Radiant or Hydrus, almost like an ink. Here's the Holbein, the Japanese watercolors. They are very good as well, although I found that the consistency is just a little bit more, the paint doesn't disperse as well. And as you can see, I would say, what's the best way to say it? The Holbein is a little bit more opaque in the transparency range and a little bit more chunky. And some of their paints aren't single pigment either, so that's something interesting to look at. A lot of people have been talking to me lately about, and there's some Magello as well, you can do a little first glance comparison, but people have been talking to me a lot about light fastness lately and how important is it, and should I turn down a paint because it isn't completely light fast. Well, most paints made today are pretty light fast. Well, compare them to years ago, they're definitely more light fast than they were. However, if you're doing sketching in a book and it's not finished work, I wouldn't worry about it. I think people stress over it a little bit too much. So that's a quick comparison to some other artist quality and high student grade quality watercolor paints. But I think your experiences with these paints is going to be pretty awesome if you like really vibrant colors that are very well made, that are mostly light fast, and also going to be, there's several single pigment colors in this paint as we saw. So it's going to be a durable paint, I guess. The things I really liked about this QoR paint, even before when I reviewed them, was really the very, very nice dispersion on these paints. You don't see any like stickiness or clumpiness or anything like that. You can see the paint disperses really well all along the spectrum, all along the paint line here. I really enjoy using paint that I can, I don't know if it's predict is the right word, but just know where the paint is going to go. So, you know, the tin is well made. They've really done something very cool by introducing this kit to the market. The price, I think, is just about right, and really cool to open up this case and see these little chiclet style pans in there with just bursting with color. And, you know, you can think about all the great fun you can have with a kit like this. Well, don't forget to check out the description for all the details on this particular kit, including where to pick your own up. Well, this has been Marty for owingsart.com. Thanks for looking at these QoR watercolors with me. So long, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.